Do I have any regrets? Yes. And we have to walk through the turnstiles. I have like a massive, almost near-on panic attack because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna fit through the turnstile. Just know that those people don't matter. Is that the food noise disappeared. My hair is big. It's because it's full of secrets. I just wanted to start this off by saying I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional of any sort. And this is really just my personal experience. So if you have any more specific questions or concerns about your surgery, or if you're looking into a surgery, like please speak to a doctor, not some chick on the internet. But I just wanted to share my specific experience so it might be helpful to someone. But I am not a doctor. Please do not take anything that I say as doctor's advice. Thanks. Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. In this video, I'm going to be going over my experience with gastric bypass surgery. So I had my surgery about 10 years ago, and I just thought that I would share my experience with the surgery, how I chose my specific surgery, my pre-surgery prep, my after-surgery experience, going through the various phases of eating, of course, the results of my surgery, how much weight I lost, the pros, the cons, and some things that just kind of are, and I don't really know how to place them in a pro or a con, so they just kind of are. And then, do I have any regrets regarding having gastric bypass surgery? So if any of that sounds interesting to you, keep watching. So my name is Bethany and I am on a mission to lose 150 pounds. I've already lost over 100, but of course I am still working on it. So I went over how I came to the decision to have gastric bypass surgery in my prior video, which I can link above and at the end cards. It's on my weight loss vlog number 3. So it kind of goes through my history with weight gain and weight loss and yo-yoing and how I came to the decision to finally have gastric bypass surgery. So if you are interested in that, go check it out next. So first I'm gonna go over how I came to the decision to have my specific surgery. So I did have a mini gastric bypass surgery, which is actually not very common in the United States. There are actually only, and this was at the time that I had it done, so I don't know what it looks like these days, but there was only 2 surgeons in the continental US that were doing this surgery, and one of them was on an extended sabbatical. So really there was only one, but this is the surgery that I landed on. And there's a lot of reasons that went into it, which I'm going to go into. So number 1, this was 10 years ago, 2014, and surgery was not covered by my insurance. After doing a lot of research, a traditional R&Y surgery would have been, at that time, about $35,000 out of pocket and paid in advance because it's, you know, an optional surgery. It's not a life-saving surgery. They're not required to give it to you. That was, you know, hard to swallow, very expensive. And so I just started looking into what my other options might be. So I had mentioned in my prior video about me gaining weight and losing weight and yo-yoing and coming to the decision to have gastric bypass surgery that I had gone to a family Christmas get-together and my aunt had lost quite a bit of weight, and it turned out that she had had gastric bypass surgery. Well, she actually had this gastric bypass surgery with this one surgeon, and she had continued after that Christmas, obviously, to lose weight. And she actually got down basically to a normal weight. She was very successful with the surgery. That's kind of what put the idea of that surgeon in my head. I had talked to my aunt about it, and you know, I inquired with his office, and it turns out that because it was a very unpopular surgery in the United States, like, he doesn't even accept insurance because the insurance, it just doesn't work out. But he gave me like basically the price list or whatever, and it came up to $17,000. So by far much cheaper than, going and having a gastric bypass at a hospital near me. So upon looking into the success rate of this surgery, it actually had a higher success rate than an R&Y surgery and also fewer complications. That's the reason I'm kind of confused why it's not very popular in the United States, because it's like one of the main surgeries in Europe. So I don't know. Insurance is weird, but I guess it's not popular in the United States because the insurance companies don't want to cover it. Ultimately, I came to the decision to have this because my aunt had it and was very successful. Insurance wasn't going to cover my surgery anyway, and this was the cheaper option. And doing the research, it had a great success rate with very few complications. So those were my 3 main reasons for choosing that specific surgery. So going into the prep for the surgery a little bit, it is going to be a lot different than what most people are saying on here, because most people are going through their insurance, and insurance requires a lot of prep work in order to approve a surgery. But because I wasn't going through insurance, it was a lot more simple. My surgeon did have some requirements. So I did have to have a psychological evaluation to make sure that I had realistic expectations, to make sure that I wasn't nuts, I guess, that I was competent to make a decision to have a life-threatening surgery and to permanently change my body's physiology. So I did have to go through a psychological evaluation, and my doctor also had me write an essay seriously, an essay explaining the surgery in my own words. So it wasn't a very long, paper or anything, but basically I had to say, like, this is what you're going to be doing to my body, and this is how it's going to affect me, or these are the possible complications in my own words. So 48 hours prior to my surgery, I just had to eat very light. He said, just, eat some salad, eat a soup, just very, very light eating for the 48 hours prior to the surgery. And then also take milk of magnesia the night before. If you don't know what that is, it's very mild, natural laxative. So just take a little, Anyway, moving on. So prior to my surgery, I was a rock. I was not nervous at all. This surgery was actually out of state from where I was. So I live in Maryland, and this surgery was actually in Florida because that's where the surgeon was. And so we actually flew, and even on the plane flight there, I was a rock. I was very non-nervous. I was just in the zone. Up until literally walking into the hospital the morning of the surgery. I was good until then. Once I walked in, I was extremely nervous. When they were getting me prepped, I was crying. I was shaking, like physically shivering from nerves. But I had a good support team, and I was still very sure about my decision. So once I had my surgery, it was just, it went off without a hitch. It was a laparoscopic surgery, so no large scars, just little 1 inch. I think I have 5. It's been 10 years, I've forgotten. I think I had like 5 1 inch incisions kind of all around my stomach. And as far as like pain after the surgery, the most pain that I had was actually from the laparoscopic process. They like puff you up with air, and then that leaves residual gas in your system. And so I had referred pain from that gas. It was like pushing everything up. And then I had like really bad shoulder pain when I woke up from surgery. But other than that, I really didn't have much pain. So moving on into my after surgery diet. Obviously you start off on a liquid diet, which is common for most gastric surgeries. So I was allowed to drink tomato juice, broths, and Gatorade. And that was it. And I want to say that was for 48 hours. Like I said, I'm sorry, this was like 10 years ago, so I'm trying to remember. I want to say it was for like 48 hours. It was nothing but those liquids, tomato juice, broth, and Gatorade. And then phase 2 started in the next couple of days, which was thick liquids. So think yogurt or protein shakes was the main 2 things I was adding in, was yogurt and protein shakes. So that was for like 2 weeks. I was on that during the healing process. And then I moved on to soft foods. During the soft foods phase, you add in basically the consistency of scrambled egg. It was boring. I really wasn't very hungry. The surgery had completely killed my hunger cues. So basically I'm like, oh, it's time to eat. And so I would just eat a couple of bites, be full, and go along my day. And then the final stage of the food reintroduction process was obviously solid foods. And I just had to reincorporate foods one at a time to make sure that how they sat and make sure it didn't, upset my stomach, that sort of thing. So just very small portions of one food at a time until I figure out my new diet. So now everyone's favorite part, which is the results of my surgery. So I did start my highest weight at, so sorry if the angle or the lighting changed. I had to delete some stuff off of my phone because storage. It's like every single time I go to sit down and film a video, this happens. So eventually I'll get it under control, maybe. So for the results of my weight loss surgery, I started at my highest weight of 315 pounds. And then my surgeon basically told me I could expect to lose weight pretty steadily for 2 years, which is exactly what happened. Sorry, my nose itches. So I lost weight for 2 years pretty steadily, and over that time I lost 135 pounds, which brought me down to 180. And I maintained that 180 for quite a long time, but I am back on a weight loss kick, thus the channel. So feel free to check out any of my videos. I have a weight loss series, I have a 75 hard series, I have a what I eat in a day series. So check those out. So I guess weight by itself is not completely helpful. I am 5'7". I went from a women's plus size 26 US to a ladies 10, 12 medium. And different things are cut differently, but I was pretty standardly a medium, and I could always fit into a size 12, sometimes a 10. Those were the 2-year results of my surgery. So as far as the pros of the surgery goes, there's the obvious one, which is that you lose weight. Weight loss is pretty inevitable when you have a mini gastric bypass or really any weight loss surgery, but there are ones that are more effective than others. Generally speaking, I am healthier and I have a lot more energy than I had before my surgery. My mental health has improved. I did go over some of that again in my prior weight loss vlog number 3. I'm gonna be referencing that one a lot, I guess. So I also, after surgery and after losing weight, I became a lot more outgoing. I used to be like painfully shy. And I just kind of became more of a joiner. When there were activities going on, I would definitely be down for pretty much trying anything. And with that, I started having more friends because, he who shows himself friendly will have friends, right? I went from pretty much hiding all alone in my room and not really having very many friends to, joining in all the fun activities and having lots of people to hang out with. And I really don't think that it was anything to do with other people treating me any differently. I really think that it was more to do with me and the energy that I was putting out. I was definitely a much happier person, a much nicer person to be around. And so I think that drew people in as well, friendship-wise. And then also a great pro of weight loss surgery, at least for me, is that the food noise disappeared. I went for many years without quote unquote being hungry. The food was no longer the center of my world. That was wonderful. I really have enjoyed that. It has come back at times, every now and then. I think everyone eats emotionally, but for the most part, that's not really a part of my life anymore. Again, it ebbs and flows, we're all women. So of course, on our cycle, the food noise is a little bit louder and chocolate is a little more come hither. But for the most part, the food noise has gone away. So there are some cons that I would like to go over. And again, these are going to be different for everyone. And again, I am not a doctor, because most of the cons are going to be medical in nature. So I do struggle with something called dumping syndrome. There are different types of dumping syndrome that are associated with weight loss surgery. So there's type 1, type 2. One is an immediate dumping syndrome, which happens pretty much immediately after eating a specific food. And one is a delayed onset dumping syndrome, which kind of takes the form of like hypoglycemia, and it is triggered by specific foods. Unfortunately, they can give you like a general idea of what is going to cause this to happen, but everyone's triggers are different. Like my aunt had this surgery, her triggers are different than mine. My mom had this surgery, her triggers are different than mine. There are certain things I can eat that my mom can't eat. There are certain things she can eat that I cannot. So it's kind of a trial and error thing. Like ice cream is 1000% a no-go in my life. I don't even like it anymore. It causes such problems. So, I mean, I guess pro, con, like I don't miss it. So, but I can't eat ice cream at all, like not even a little bit, not even a spoonful. It will completely destroy me. And dumping syndrome isn't what it sounds like. So it sounds like something to do with the bathroom. It is not. It has to do with food dumping out of your stomach and into your intestines, and how far along it is in the digestion process when that happens. Because if it's not digested enough, which when your stomach is smaller, that's a problem. So it has to do with how it dumps into your intestines and mixes with the bile. I don't really know. It's complicated, but it has to do with how food is moving through your digestive tract too quickly, essentially, and it can cause dizziness, fatigue, sweating, like cold sweats, vertigo, weakness. Hypoglycemia is essentially what's going on. And those are just all the signs and symptoms of hypoglycemia. Like I shake when I have it going on. So basically any kind of like low blood sugar symptom is what would be going on during dumping syndrome. So this is completely avoidable if you avoid your triggers, which sometimes is complicated because I feel like sometimes a food will trigger it and sometimes it won't. And then you're like, well, can I have it or can I not have it? Because you like that food. And sometimes I think it matters how you have that food. Like I can maybe have a little bit of the food if I eat it with protein and fiber with it to kind of slow it down. You know, it's all trial and error. So you got to learn your new system. So another con that I experienced after having gastric bypass surgery actually did not come till many years later. So it was about 5 or 6 years after my surgery, we found out that I was extremely iron deficient, like extremely. I ended up, and I was actually pregnant at the time, so they immediately gave me over to a hematologist because they're like, this is something that needs to be fixed, like right now. I went to this hematologist and he's like, you don't have low iron, honey. You have no iron. I don't even know how you're still standing. And so he basically immediately got me onto a iron infusion that day. And I was pregnant at the time, so like not ideal, but everything was okay. I guess having an iron infusion during pregnancy can actually cause preterm labor and things like that, but it ended up being okay, and it wasn't exactly an option. I had to have the infusion. So since then, I have had 3 or 4 infusions. I had that one during the pregnancy, and then I had one immediately following that pregnancy, and then I ended up having one right before I got pregnant with my son, and then I had one a couple of years after my son was born. So, and then I spoke to the hematologist, and he is basically like, every 2 to 3 years, you're probably going to need an iron infusion. And for those that are saying, well, why not iron supplements? The whole reason why I'm iron deficient is because I can't absorb the iron in my current digestive system because it's been altered. So another con is like based off a Taylor Swift song, and that's the haters gonna hate, 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 hate. Sorry, couldn't resist. But basically, like, people are going to criticize you for having gastric bypass surgery, but people will also criticize you for being overweight. So haters gonna hate, and you just gotta do what's best for you. So I've definitely gotten flack that I took the easy way out. Just know that those people don't matter. So yeah, just be prepared for people to have opinions, because everybody has an opinion. But you just gotta do whatever decision is right for you and be confident in it. So there are some other things that I thought were worthy of mention, but I couldn't really decide whether to put them in with the pros or with the cons, because they just kind of are weird. And one of them is that I struggle, me and my mom actually used to call it fat girl syndrome, but now that I'm a little bit more educated, I believe what it actually is I developed basically body dysmorphia, where I don't see myself the way that I actually appear to other people and the way that I actually am. I'm definitely still, like, I have the mindset of someone much larger than I am. And I have not been able to shake that even 10 years. It's gotten better. But to this day, if my husband takes me to a ball game, like if we go see the Orioles play and we have to walk through the turnstiles, I have like a massive, almost near-on panic attack, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not gonna fit through the turnstile. And my husband looks at me like, you're insane. You're gonna fit through the turnstile. Like, what is wrong with you? You know, I get nervous sitting in little chairs because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna break it. And my husband's like, no, you're not. You weigh less than me. You know, things like that, where I just kind of still have the mindset of someone who's much larger, and it's a hard thing to shake. So me and my mom used to call it fat girl syndrome, but I think body dysmorphia is more the accurate term for that. Then another thing that I didn't know, pro or con, it was just something that I had never dealt with before and didn't really know how to deal with. Some people might really enjoy this, I did not. But that was that I was getting a lot more attention from people in a romantic way. And I didn't know what to do with that, because if you saw my prior weight loss vlog, I have been overweight since I was a preteen. So I never had a boyfriend. I never kissed anyone. We're saying like I was an awkward like 26-year-old at this point. Well, by the time I'd lost the weight, I was like 27, 28. I had the surgery at 26. So like completely awkward. And I was not used to people like hitting on me at work or like in the gas station or all of that. So I felt very uncomfortable with that. I felt very weird. I didn't really know what to do with that kind of attention. And so I thought it was very con-ish, but like maybe like other people would enjoy that. I don't know. So that was something that, you know, was just, it just is. And it's just kind of something I had to learn how to deal with. And I just kind of already, I already kind of touched on this one when it comes to like the food, but you just kind of got to relearn how to eat. Some foods just don't sit well and you don't even know why. Like things that you think would be fine are not. For example, my mom can't eat salad, and you'd think salad's healthy, but her system just does not like it. She can't eat tons of it. Yeah, the main food that I have not been able to eat at all is ice cream, but oh well. And finally, do I have any regrets? Yes. My one regret is that I did not do this sooner. I am so thankful that I was able to have this surgery, and it changed my life for the better. I would not trade having this surgery for the world. Literally the only thing I would change is that I would have done it years prior, because I had looked into it years prior and I chickened out and didn't do it. And I really just look at those years as wasted time. So I hope that you found this video just a little bit helpful if you are thinking about having a weight loss surgery. Obviously, it probably won't be the one that I had because it's hard to find a surgeon unless you're from a different country. But I hope this was helpful to someone, and I hope you guys have a wonderful and blessed day. Thanks. All right, welcome to the weigh-in portion of this week. So I'm not going to delay. So last week I weighed in at 200.8 pounds, which as we know is quite disappointing. And then this week I weighed in at 200.1 pounds. So I lost 0.7 pounds, which is still a win. But obviously Wonderland is elusive. It's kind of annoying. I had a feeling this week wasn't going to be super great because last week was a much higher weight loss. The 2.2 pounds was a lot higher of a weight loss than is typical for me. So I kind of thought this week was going to be a little bit on the smaller side. So I am not actually shocked at all, but that's okay. I would say maybe next week, but you know, maybe not. So I guess we'll find out. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.